Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Keisha Diamonds, and if you're new here, welcome. So today, this video is going to be about boundaries. Do you have them? Do you know what they are? And how to recognize when someone is stepping all over them. If you want to hear my take on this topic, just stay tuned. Okay, so a boundary, to my understanding, is basically something that you put forth, for yourself. I would like to be treated like this. I wouldn't want someone to, treat me like XYZ, or I only have so many times to say the same thing, to the same person. Now, a lot of people, you can either choose to, leave that person alone that's stepping on your boundaries, or you can choose to get extremely disrespectful, verbally, physically, whatever. So as for me, I just feel like a lot of people these days, they don't understand what they are. And if you don't understand what it is, there's no how that you can actually care if someone is trying to enforce it. And you yourself, because you don't know what it is, you're just continuously repeating yourself to people, and they're just continuing to, walk all over you. That's basically where I feel that saying is coming from. Like, you could tell someone, hey, I don't like you talking to me like this, and I would appreciate it if you stopped. And the person can be like, I don't care what you talk about. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. Who the hell are you? Those are the type of people where every time you get around them, you feel anxiety, or you feel like there was a cloud of sadness always around this person. And you could never really put your finger on it, like, wow, whenever I hang with this person, I feel, on edge. You feel, I don't know, it's just like, you get the ick, like your skin is crawling, or you have goosebumps. And not those goosebumps like when you meet somebody and it's like, oh, you're falling in love or something like that. It's like the ick, like, this person again. Like, have you ever received a phone call from someone and the whole time the phone is ringing, you're just like, you don't want to be that person that causes another person to have that disgusted feeling. And these days, a lot of people don't realize that person that you call that doesn't want to call you back, it's because you disgust them with the way that you behave, or the way that you treat them, or the way that they see that you treat others. There was a video on TikTok where this lady was, she was supposed to be on the first date, but the guy she was on a date with was being so rude to a server. So she was like, you know what? Don't even bring the food out. We're not even gonna do this. So the guy was like, what you talking about? What you mean? She was like, based on how you treat this stranger who's handling your food that you're about to eat, if this is how you treat the person, then I don't know what you're gonna do to me, and I'd rather not be around. And that's how she just canceled the date. You know how people do skits and stuff on TikTok. And it just got me to thinking, she set her boundaries for herself, because boundaries are things you set for yourself that you're not gonna allow somebody else to cross. That's how you keep your self-respect, your dignity, your self-esteem about yourself. Because sometimes you think about, wow, I can't believe I went through XYZ in a relationship with someone. I can't believe all these things happen. And you go through that phase of, breakup and regret and shame and anger, and you're grieving and mourning the relationship. And the way I see it is, it's not really so much about the person, because sometimes when I always hear about people say, oh, I need closure, I want closure from this person, I want us to talk about where we went wrong and how we can improve and move forward, separately. Closure is not for the other person. Closure is for you. The things that you allowed that person to do in the relationship to you, the things that you sat there and tolerated. Maybe you were with the person for money. You were with the person because you thought you could build to, get a future. Maybe you thought you were going to get married. So, you tolerated a lot of things that you normally wouldn't tolerate. because maybe you're related to this person, you're in a romantic relationship with this person, or this person is, you know, at your job and you just don't want to, you know, start a fuss. So you just allow people to treat you just any kind of way in the name of not rocking the boat and, you know, ruffling feathers. But at the age that I've gotten to, I've just realized I don't care. I don't care. If you treat me any kind of way, I will cut you off. Like, there's another video on TikTok, because that is my thing now. There's another video on TikTok. The guy goes, nobody is above blocking. If you stress me, I block you. You insult me, I block you. You get on my nerves, I will block you. And that's just really the way I've been living my life. Even before I saw the video, like, the crazy thing is, most of the time, it's people that are very close to you that will try you and play all in your face. And then when all of a sudden, when you cut them off because, you know, hey, I deserve better than this, and I don't need anybody in my life, you know, dragging me down, stepping all over my boundaries. Then it now becomes, oh, after all we've been through is basically all the things that you have allowed them to take you through, and you guys have worked through it, and this person still continues to do the same thing. Like, you complain and the person just doesn't change. It now becomes you are a nag because you want to be treated a certain way, and that person just doesn't see you as worthy to do it. So what do? You remove that gift of your presence away from them. Simple. That's all you have to do. I remember there was a time that I was talking to someone, I was actually dating someone, and he used to do a lot of things that I didn't like. So I would be like, hey, you know, I would appreciate if you don't do this or you don't do that, or, you know, just let him, you know, things be known, so that way it doesn't turn into resentment, which I'm gonna get into. And he just never changed. He never cared. So I remember there was a day that just unknowingly I did this exact same thing that he did. And if you see how this man turned up on my phone, you're a bad person. Let me say, Keisha, you're a bad person. You're a nasty person. I can't believe you could treat me like this, XYZ, and all that. And I was like, well, I learned it from you. And mind you, at this point, I didn't even realize that I had did it, because, you know, there's a switch that goes off when you're just tired of tolerating. You stop complaining. You just stop. So I didn't even realize that I had even gotten to that point until he pointed it out. I didn't even realize I was doing that, you know. In anyways, it sounds exactly like what I have been saying for the longest of time, and you never cared to change. So, I mean, I'm learning from the best. Who else would I learn from if not from you? Then now becomes, I've never done that before. You're not telling the truth. I would never treat you like this. And that's the gaslighting that comes whenever you let people step all over your boundaries and you start to stand up for yourself. Now all of a sudden, all the things that you have been complaining about, they don't remember any of it. First of all, you were a nag. But when you do it back and they start complaining, and then you say, you've been doing it, so I'm doing it. Now it becomes, I never did that. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a lie. This, that, Okay. That was one instance. I got away from that person and it's over. Now, going back to resentment, which I talked about earlier, we're gonna focus on, why do you feel that resentment towards that person? Why are you, you know, holding this grudge and, you know, feeling so bad or whatever about another person, you know, because of their behavior? And really and truly, I've gone through enough relationships to actually realize the resentment actually isn't for the person. The resentment is for yourself, because you allowed this person to go, you know, just reach heights that they should not have felt comfortable ever reaching. This person has stepped all over your boundaries, gotten on your last nerve. You know, it's to the point to where it's like, how can I describe it? You know, like when somebody takes their nails across a chalkboard and just scratches the whole chalkboard. You know, that kind of noise, it's like a cringing kind of sound, but in your ears. That's how I feel when I look at certain people. And it's not really so much about what they did, it's about the fact that I sat there and allowed it to happen. So most of the time, it's not even about, oh, this person did this. It's, I sat and allowed this person to treat me like this because of XYZ, whatever benefit you thought you were going to get or whatever benefit you were receiving then and there due to that treatment. There was a long time ago that I spoke to someone on Twitter. We were going back and forth through tweets, and she was talking about ego. And she was talking about how a lot of people always want to get closure from relationships, or, you know, you want to have the last word or an XYZ. And she was like, sometimes it's best to just not say anything, work on yourself, forgive yourself, and, you know, move on. And I had to really sit and think about that, like, forgive myself. I'm not the one that did any of this trash. But then it just made sense. You have to forgive yourself for what you allowed. It's not that person, because there's a saying, what you allow is what someone is going to continue. And that's the reason why I said you had to remove the gift of your presence out of people's lives that don't care about the things that affect you, the things that they are doing that's, you know, getting on your nerves and you've already spoken about. Most of the time when we have issues with people, these people are our age mates, or at least the person is old enough to understand whatever message you're trying to convey, you know, to them. So it was a time that she was talking, the person on Twitter, she was talking about how you need to forgive yourself, don't ask for closure. And she was like, actually sit and think about that guy that treated you badly. Did you actually like him? Or was it the fact of your ego that was like, no, this person can't do this to me. Like, it's not me that they did this to. Like, I need to stick around and figure out what's wrong with this person. And in the meantime that you're sticking around to figure out what is wrong with that person, why do they behave this way, that person continues to hurt you again and again and again. So when you should have left, you stayed trying to play these psychological games, because most of the time towards the end of relationships, people start playing games. If that's, you know, most of the time, most people end up beginning a relationship by playing games. But for most of the part, towards the end, people start playing mind games. Every time y'all are fighting, you sit by the phone and wait who's gonna call first. Because these days I notice people don't say they're sorry. They'll just start messaging you again like nothing happened. That's part of the games that I'm talking about. So you just have to learn to forgive yourself. Part of the ego is also like, you'll sit down and realize you never really liked this person. You're probably dating a person, maybe, oh, you like the way the person makes you look. Maybe they're a status booster. You're with the person because the person gives you an allowance. You're with the person because the person knows how to cook. You're with the person because they take you on exotic vacations, or they take you on shopping sprees, or they just so happen to be better than your exes, but they're still just not good enough. When you actually sit down and think about all the things you allowed a person to take you through, you'll just be like, I never really liked this person to begin with. Like, have you ever noticed an ex that really put you through so much? When you look back at it, you be like, is this the person that I allowed to play in my face? Because people always say, oh, whenever you stop dating someone and you're truly over them, that's when you'll realize they're not as attractive as you thought they were. They were never attractive. You were looking at them through rose-tinted glasses because of those benefits you were getting from the person. You never liked them. A lot of people that actually go through a lot of things in their relationship don't speak up. They wait and like take a lot from the person to where it's like, oh, he refused to wash his dishes, or she refused to, you know, cook. And it'll be like one little thing that will just be the straw that broke the camel's back. That person has been harboring so many irritating things that you've been doing to them, and they've just been keeping quiet. And you know, sometimes it will just look like, is it this small thing that you want to break up with me for? Meanwhile, she's the person, he or she or they has been complaining and complaining and complaining, and you have just not taken the person seriously. You haven't taken what they've been saying to you seriously, and you haven't been taking the little hints they've been dropping seriously. I mean, everybody has a breaking point, no matter how much you like the person. And I honestly feel if you genuinely like someone, no matter how they treat you, you're going to leave them alone. But if it's something that you're benefiting from them, meaning that you don't really like them like that, is the things, the perks that come with them, you're going to stick around and allow them to treat you badly. Like, there was a time I was scrolling on TikTok, I think it was about 2 or 3 days ago. This lady was talking about how she has an aunt, and her aunt actually married a billionaire with a B, a billionaire. So they were all getting ready to go to, I think, Bali or something like that. So he flew the whole family. So she was like, oh, I didn't even know he had a plane. So I'm so happy about this. That means that I don't have to, you know, fly commercial anymore. She said, ever since then, there was just a switch that went off in this man's head, and he started treating her so badly. In the house, none of the cooks and cleaners waited on her anymore. He reduced her allowance. Her allowance, she didn't even have an allowance. It was just like she had a credit card and she could just spend as she pleased. He reduced that to $1,000 a month. People are minimum wage. If you get a decent amount of hours, earn more than $1,000 a month. So basically, she sat and waited out her prenup so he could just go ahead and pay her and she can go. Because he threw her out of the house. She had to live in like a guest quarters. And apparently where her guest quarters was above the garage. So every time he opened the garage door, her whole apartment would be shaking. Whenever he has a party, he would turn the speakers towards her apartment. He would because they lived in a, you know how some people live in a state, it's like a community with multiple houses. But apparently this person's house was large enough to where he was his own community. So the street lights, he purposely had the street lights turned so they could face inside of her apartment so she wouldn't be able to sleep. She can't get a moment's rest because he was always throwing parties, or he would be constantly opening and closing the garage door. She went through all of this for like a year or 2 years until her prenup finally kicked in and she left. Now, she stayed and tolerated all of this because of what she was gonna benefit. Had this been a normal relationship where the only thing keeping you people together was the fact that you liked each other, she would not have stayed and tolerated all of that. This man stepped all over her boundaries. And really and truly, why would you become a billionaire if not to share the money with the people you love? It's not like she said anything outrageous. Her husband has a plane and she shouldn't have to fly public anymore. What is it? Public? Commercial. She shouldn't have to fly commercial anymore. I mean, after all, you got a plane. What is the plane there for if not to be flown? Speaking of boundaries, a lot of people go through a lot in school and in the workplace. Just in the name of you want your professor to like you, you want your boss to like you, you want your coworkers to like you, because the workplace can be a very toxic environment depending on where you're working. I used to work at a specific place not too long ago, and for whatever reason, there was one coworker that just didn't like me. I didn't say a word to her. We never had a conversation, but she just always had a problem with me up until the point one day I just couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, who do you think you are that you're always speaking to me like this? And that's just how I said it. Everybody just because where I was working, there's multiple employees in that specific section, and everybody already knew it was coming. So everybody, it literally was like the whole of the store went quiet after I said that to her. She was like, what? And I said what I said. What's your problem? You're not gonna talk to me like this. And I was like, oh, but when you were talking to me like this for the last few months and I haven't said anything to you, now that I'm asking you a genuine question, what is your problem? Now you have a problem? So I go up to the front of the store to speak on a totally different issue, and she's up there reporting me. So the manager now goes, oh, well, we'd like to speak to the both of you in the back. You know, go ahead and take your 15. They asked me when I was leaving, and I told them, well, actually, I'm leaving in the next hour. So we get to the back. This girl is screaming at the managers, screaming at the supervisors, screaming at me. Whenever anybody wants to talk, she cuts them off. Whenever I say anything, she scoffs, she grunts, she's sliding her feet, like just anything to disrupt the whole process that she called all of us to. Nobody called for this meeting, she called for it. So after I finished giving numerous instances where she has disrespected me and I ignored it because this is work. I really just don't care. This is not a school. And even if it was a school, I came there for a certain purpose. I didn't come here to make friends. If it happens, cool, but that's not why I'm here. Only to find out that was the main reason why she was angry, because I didn't care. When you have those certain boundaries and people realize there's nothing they can do to cross them, there's no reaction that they can get out of you because you honestly and genuinely don't care, it now becomes a problem. I'm going to make you have a problem with me, so you have no choice other than to reply to me the way I want you to reply to me. And it just never happened because I don't care. You know what? You know those type of people, like, they could tell you that the world is getting ready to fall out the sky and you just don't care. Like, there's plenty of people that I've had in my life, they're no longer in my life anymore, but they would literally do anything for a response and I would just be like, okay. And that's really what I feel it needs to be. Don't allow people to see that they're getting on your nerves, and when they are actually getting on your nerves or going out of their way to get on your nerves, just cut them off. Have that self-respect for yourself. We all need to start thinking in the path of abundance. If you cut this person off, another person that's offering those same benefits will come into your life, and they're not going to bring half as much as stress as this person is. Everyone has someone that they're related to that gets on their last nerves. Unfortunately for me, I have multiple. Just because somebody is related to you by blood does not make them your family. A family is what you make it, and those people that you choose to surround yourself by. So just because you guys happen to share, a bloodline, it's not enough for that person to come and disrupt your peace, because life is short. Based on what we've seen from, when was it, February of last year up until now, life is extremely short. You don't know when your time is going to be. There's plenty of people that have taken this virus very, very seriously, and they still have, transitioned to another phase of, their journey. It's just too short to allow anybody stress you out, no matter who they are. Have those boundaries. Write a list. Enforce them. And if you can't enforce them, the least you can do is don't be a coward. Cut the person off, or at least limit how you speak to the person. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is people telling others a little bit too much about their life. Have you ever noticed whenever you tell people things in your life, everything starts going wrong? Or have you noticed, like, let's say you want to write an exam. You told everybody when you're paying for the exam. You told everybody where the exam is. You told everyone the subject. You told everyone, when you're going to write the exam and all these other things. And when it now comes time for you to write the exam, you have all these anxieties. You weren't able to sleep the night before. You weren't able to, actually write the exam well. Certain things that you knew you read, you weren't able to recall. Evil eye is very, very real, which is part of the reason why a lot of people don't show their children until their children have already made it to like 2 or 3 years old, because some people just really don't want the best for you. As much as everyone believes in, religion and there's a higher being and God and all of that, some people, the way they think can actually manifest into something real and harm you. So it's better to tell people things, after you've already accomplished your goals, because that's another form of boundary. Because you have these boundaries and you don't want to tell people things about your life, somebody can actually become very angry, like, Why she thinks she too good to tell us what's going on? Because some people would actually like to use that information to laugh at you behind your back. Or let's say if you're having a problem in your relationship and you running and telling all these people that aren't really your friends, or at least limit the amount of people that you tell. Most of the time, these people will use your story as like popcorn, like a story time popcorn for their other friends. You're telling this person something that's none of their business, and they're gonna run around and laugh at you with other people. I can understand if it's something that doesn't really matter to you, but you should never tell anybody anything that they, you would be embarrassed for them to repeat. I don't know, maybe you got hemorrhoids, or, God forbid, maybe you have HIV, or, you just suffered a miscarriage, or you've had like 12 abortions. Those are not things you should be telling people. Or, you could be living a double life. Everyone thinks that you're a heterosexual, but actually, you're part of the LGBTQ community. If you don't want people to know, that is none of their business until you're ready to come out of the closet and tell people. And that's just the way I feel how it should be, because these days, everybody's looking for something to laugh at. Everybody is looking for entertainment, and it shouldn't be you. You shouldn't open yourself up to where they got the information from the horse's mouth, so you can't even deny it when it comes out, because you actually told people that stuff and it came out of your mouth. So we really need to work on boundaries in this generation, because I noticed a lot of things are just too free, especially with social media. Like on TikTok, a lot of people are doing this trend of when you were old enough to find out the family secret, and people will hop on the internet and tell the whole internet their whole family's business. They'll do part 1 up until part 12 if they can. On Twitter, people will hop on there and tell people, oh, my boyfriend cheated on me with a cat, or my girlfriend likes to have sex with dogs, or all type of things. That is not nobody's business. Yeah, they might laugh at your girlfriend, or they might laugh at your boyfriend for a while, but at the end of the day, they're gonna be laughing at you, because nobody knows that who the other person is, They know who you are because you're the one that hopped on social media and was telling all your business. People need to stop this, and I don't understand when they're just gonna realize. I mean, for God's sake, we lost Pop Smoke because he was sharing too much on his social media. That's how they found out where the house was, and that's how, they ended up forcing him to transition into his next journey. And we really need to just, as a whole, enforce those boundaries, keep things private, let people know, if you don't treat me how I want to be treated, it's a wrap. Like, it's a wrap between the two of us. And that's just how I feel it should be. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Keisha Diamonds, and I'll see you next time.